Zion National Park, one of the best national parks in the U.S. National Park System. It's where the Colorado Plateau, the Mojave Desert, and the Great Basin all meet in southwestern Utah, and there they create a jagged, almost primitive landscape that looks like something straight out of a dinosaur movie. Zion is indeed a jewel in the national park system. Anyone who follows U.S. national park metas are familiar with some of the current issues that those parks are facing. A post-pandemic surge in popularity has brought more people to U.S. national park systems than ever before, and most tourists target only a small fraction of parks. This is good news for MPS revenues, but bad news for MPS rangers, the wildlife, and the delicate ecologies in these parks, and it would all be manageable if it weren't for cars. In this video, we're going to get into the bus system, the bikeability, the car dependency, and what should change at Zion National Park. This is How Do You Roll? Most national park transportation plans were developed in the earlier half of the 20th century. This means that they were built with only private personal vehicles in mind, 1930s sized ones. Most parks are ringed by a standard car road that, through the 1980s, were fine for the average jalopy. But today, with modern SUV culture, the popularity of RVing, and the insane amount of traffic that the parks get, the roads are anything but fine. The National Park Service is at a crossroads. When national parks across the country are facing record car traffic, unprecedented impact to wildlife, unsustainable surges in popularity, and a complete dependence on personal vehicles to move people around the park, what can parks do to not be a victim of their own success? Well, most parks aren't doing anything. At the east entrance of Rocky Mountain National Park, you'll find a line of idling cars almost 2 miles long. And at the gate, you'll find cars being turned around all day because they never bothered to pick up a $2 timed entry pass.
People are flocking to places like Rocky Mountain National Park, but with the long lines to get in, you better have your reservation ready. Earlier today, our Mike LaBeta went out there to show how some people are getting turned away.
The story is the same in every other popular park. For reference, the U.S. National Park Service maintains 63 national parks. That's national parks with a capital N and a capital P. These parks are maintained for their geological distinctiveness, ecological fragility, and natural beauty. The most popular national parks are ones like Zion, Rocky Mountain, Olympic, Grand Teton, Yosemite, Redwood, Glacier, Grand Canyon. They get absolutely slammed by tourism in the high seasons, and year over year, they get busier and busier. Many parks are just hoping for it to slow down, I guess, but Zion is making the changes needed to preserve the park and protect the park goers and wildlife.
During this time of year, you do have to take the Zion Canyon Shuttle to go anywhere up the Zion Canyon Scenic Drive.
On the east side of the park, the main corridor of Zion Canyon is Zion Canyon Scenic Drive. This 6-mile winding and cliff-climbing road follows the Virgin River through the canyon, and true to name, it really is scenic. This road was closed to cars during the high season for 23 years now. Only bikes and the Zion shuttle bus can get through, unless you're one of the lucky few staying at the Zion Lodge within the park, or you're there for a horseback ride. This means that one of the most beautiful roads in the entire world is car-free. This road is also where all of the hikes are too. World-famous hikes like Angel's Landing and the Zion Narrows are off this road, and people come from all over the world to see these. And the only way to get to these places is by bus or by bikes. In our week at Zion, we made frequent use of the shuttle system. The shuttles are articulated, propane-fueled buses that you take all the way up and down the park, and also all the way up and down the park town, Springdale, Utah. The buses are very easy to figure out. There are already plenty of videos about how to use them, so I'll link one above. There are 2 lines, one through Zion Canyon within the national park, and one through Springdale outside the NP. The Springdale line terminates where the national park line begins, on either side of the park entrance, making the whole system pretty much just one straight line. The buses themselves are clean fuel propane-powered buses made by Thor, and the rolling stock is shared among other national parks. In Zion, these were originally deployed in the year 2000, and their age is starting to show. cosmetically at least. They are fitted with bike racks and can fit 3 bicycles on their front. However, since biking to get around is popular here, it's very common to find all 3 spots already occupied. Zion MPS was testing electric buses as early as 2017, but 5.5 years later, there are none deployed anywhere in Zion. Not yet. Grand Canyon National Park, arguably the least car dependent of any NP, just got $27.5 million from US DOT's Federal Highway Administration to upgrade their already pretty good system to include 10 new electric buses. Let's hope the same comes to Zion. Until then, I guess propane is fine. The buses are reliable and take you wherever you need to go. They even play audio recordings and explain how the system works, or give facts about the different geological features of the areas as you pass them. The only real deficiency in the system is that each stop is missing important schedule and timetable information. For example, their second stop within the park, the Zion Human History Museum, does not receive any northbound or up canyon buses, only down canyon buses.
But if you catch the shuttle from there, it just brings you right back down to the visitor center. So it's best just to start right from the visitor center.
But there's no sign that says this, and there are always tons of people huddled here waiting for a northbound bus that never comes. Same with the first and last buses being impossible to determine, since the timetables, which aren't available at most stops, don't show the final bus service for each station, just the final departure from the first stop. This should all be fine anyways, right? I'll just Google it, right? Wrong. You're in the back country of remote rural Utah, and you get pretty much no cell signal anywhere within the park, even with 5G phones. Still, this doesn't seem to deter anyone, as the system gets 6 million riders a year, and it increases every year. Zion has already implemented many positive changes to limit the effect that swaths of tourists and underprepared hikers have had on the delicate ecology of the park. Such initiatives, at one point controversial, included timed entry permits for entering the park, hiking permits for the most dangerous and desirable trail, Angel's Landing, and closing down Zion Canyon Scenic Drive. But even more changes are needed. For instance, the Zion Tunnel, famous for the breathtaking views on the other side, it was built in 1930 for 1930-sized cars. But now it must host unending caravans of F-150s and RVs, which barely fit in the tunnel. This means 2 or more federal park rangers must be standing outside either tunnel entrance at all times to intermittently close the tunnel directionally to allow traffic through. This is an insane waste of park resources. It also makes the east side of the park, the car-dependent one, practically unusable, since there is a combined maybe 70 parking spots on that entire side, and often multiple hundreds of cars backed up waiting for their chance to crawl their tank-sized SUV through the tunnel. So the east side of the park is essentially inaccessible to anyone except the lucky 70, and there is no way to walk, bike, or take a shuttle to that side of the tunnel. MBS needs to change this. There are hikes on the dry side of the park that people deserve to see. My suggestion? Create a third shuttle system trunk that goes through the tunnel and continues to the east side of the park. Block cars from the entire park beyond the camping and visitor center on the southwestern side. Buses can coordinate among themselves for tunnel crossings, and the vastly expanded capacity reduces just how much space is needed to house these cars. You can use electric or propane buses all you want. It will never counteract the literally thousands of idling personal vehicles that snake through the entire park. Since Zion Canyon Scenic Drive is closed, there aren't many options available for getting around the canyon besides bikes. But why use anything else? Bike rentals here are cheap and plentiful, and with the closures, biking is extremely fun and safe, with very, very few cars driving around you. Plus, the 360 views you get while cycling are so much more enjoyable than what you can get out of car windows. The roads are car grade, and the best part, where roads are no longer closed to cars, there is a large multi-use path through the floor of the canyon, called the Paw Roost Trail, that connects from the start of Zion Canyon Scenic Drive all the way down to the entrance of the park. At the south entrance, there are ample bike rental and bike storage options. Continuing southward through Springdale becomes a little less fun though. The cars ruin this space. Illegal parking and unprotected paint-only bike lanes make biking through town feel particularly unsafe. The bikes you can find are invariably pedal assist e-bikes. Most of them top out at 21 or so miles per hour. And with not a car in sight on the Pot Rouge Trail, nor after the Zion Canyon Scenic Drive gate, wear your helmet and enjoy whipping around the canyon. And don't hit top speed on the Pot Rouge Trail. It's a multi-purpose and campers and walkers use it frequently. Most e-bike rentals go for about $70 to $100 per day, which is a lot, but you can get discounts for multi-day use. Non-e-bike or acoustic bikes, as they are sometimes annoyingly called, can be rented for about $30 a day. But the bike system isn't perfect. The biggest issue is that they are not allowed through the historic tunnel, which means that the entire east side of the park is pretty much squarely dedicated to idling cars. And Route 9, before and after Zion Canyon Scenic Drive, is still owned by speeding cars, forcing cyclists to use the Pot Rouge multipurpose trail, which creates conflicts between cyclists and walkers. The only people driving up Route 9 are people that are heading towards tunnel traffic, and the only people driving down Route 9 are people coming from tunnel traffic. Clearing the entire two main corridors from cars enables a bike-friendly future for the park. There would obviously be exceptions for people working or staying at the lodge, horseback rides, concessionaires, technicians, etc. But honestly, think about it for a moment. If you are at the lodge, you already, today, have to take the shuttle to any of the hikes. The absolute best change that the MBS could make is to install a docked, federally owned e-bike and bike system. Currently, bikes rule the road here, at least after the Canyon Drive gate, where they're allowed, but 100% of the profits go to private companies based in Springdale, which is fine, but it also requires driving or shuttling out of the park to obtain them, often at exorbitant prices, and then requires driving back or biking back to the rental facility in the evening to return them, and then shuttling back into the park. This is needlessly constrictive. If a serviceable docked bicycle rental system existed at every shuttle stop in Zion Canyon, or even just half of them, then visitors could rent ad hoc rides between stops, and most importantly, do so unidirectionally. This also means that the prices for such a ride would be cheaper, as, like any docked bike share system, the user only pays for what they need, not paying a flat fee for the entire day regardless of how many miles they put on the bike. There are many different systems to draw influence from, but New York City's City Bike and DC's Capital Bike Share are both great examples, and I've made a video explaining in depth Mexico City's EcoBC bike share system too. A bike share dock at every station means that charging of e-bikes is handled by the dock, not by the user. This also means that rides cannot end where bikes would cause impact to shuttle or car traffic or to wildlife, as the dock system prevents the bikes from being anywhere where they're not supposed to be. And again, all the profit would go to MPS, the people I actually want to be giving my money to. Many cities manage to make a bike share system work despite being far more complicated than urban environments, with less centralized authority and other complications. So I firmly believe that this could and would work swimmingly here in Zion MP, and probably in plenty of other national parks that want to reduce their car dependency as well. Visitors would save money, the MPS would make money. You could always still rent from an outfitter from Springdale if you wanted increased capacity or speed. Just an idea, but I think it's one worth exploring. The town of Springdale, Utah is the park town that supports Zion. Here you will find outfitters, souvenir stores, restaurants, ice cream shops, bike rentals, and more. The town has its own section of the Zion Shuttle system, which uses the same rolling stock. This makes getting around easy as the actual sidewalk situation is not good. The entire town is either side of a two-lane road, where cars fly up the road towards the park entrance at high speeds. Bike lanes are not barrier protected nor grade separated. The sidewalks, where they do exist, are completely unprotected and unshaded, making getting around in anything but a car a total drag. There is no cute pedestrianized walkable town center anywhere, and combined with Utah liquor laws, we found that Springdale as a park town was significantly inferior to other park towns like Estes Park, Colorado, or Asheville, North Carolina, or Bar Harbor, Maine. And I'm not sure what direction the town is moving in, but I hope it's towards a more transit and bicycle incentivized future, especially considering the delicate ecosystem and wildlife here. It really is a shame that the only way to get to Zion is by driving 3.5 straight hours from Salt Lake or 2.5 hours from Vegas. It is wild that there is not a train that takes you from Vegas, one of the most touristic cities in the hemisphere, to Zion, one of the most highest traffic parks in the world. In 2023, Zion National Park got more than 5 million visitors so far, and the vast majority of them flew into and rented a car in Vegas. Here's hoping that Brightline West, if it ever gets up and running, decides to throw in a fun little bonus line that goes up from the future Las Vegas station all the way to Zion MP. Say 3 trips a week. Now this is a genuine pipe dream, but it's still one that is fun to entertain. Zion is so unbelievably beautiful and so deserving of being one of the most visited natural areas in the world. It is absolutely worth the trip, and if you do make the trip, rent the bikes, use the shuttles, and get a hiking pass for Angel's Landing. Thank you for watching. This is How Do You Roll?